nowhere I won't go. There's nobody I won't talk to. There's nothing that, there's no elevation that I can get to. And part of that is because I think, I have been extraordinarily blessed. I shouldn't even be alive if you think about it. And so it's important to me that people have access in a way that allows me to share my journey and to share my experience and to figure out ways to be helpful. Because I can tell you that had I had that same type of support when I was younger coming up, I would have done this a lot faster and a lot better. And so if I can help just 2 or 3 or 4 people have a shorter journey to this destination, then that's my obligation. And so I feel it as my personal obligation to do that. Now, having said that, I appreciate the escort that I'm going to have out. But yeah, I'm a street vendor, Rev. At the end of the day, I tell you an interesting story, and I don't know if I've shared this story with you. When I started going to Essence Festival, it wasn't to participate in the festival per se. I would load up my van and drive down and sell soap in the parking lot. Yeah.
At the Essence Festival.
At the Essence Festival. And the first time I walked into the convention center and up to where up on the second floor where they have the business meetings and where they have, first time I walked up there, I owned it. Right? So,
wow.
I'm a street vendor. Through and through.
So you never went up to the second floor where they have all the business meetings and all until you were the owner of the whole festival?
Yeah. Rev, I didn't even know it existed. Right? I didn't even know it existed. So, but yeah, at the core of it, that's what I am. And the other thing is, to be grateful for who we are. God made me a particular way. No amount of money is going to change that. Yeah.
Alfonso, where are we with the Fearless Fund case?
Before I talk about the Fearless Fund, let me just put a finer point on what Rich just said, because he glossed over this. When he said he's not supposed to be here, let's keep in mind that we both went through a civil war where we both should not be here. But also during COVID, Rich went through a very difficult time, and he's right. All things being equal, he didn't think he was going to be here. So as we think about the work that we have to do,
you need to know they're also related. They're cousins. So when he talks about a civil war, he wasn't talking about y'all's civil war. He was talking about the civil war in Liberia.
Yeah.
And that was a vicious thing that what we're seeing in Haiti today, they went through in Liberia.
We were held at gunpoint. So look, when we think about the work that we have to do, I often think about the challenges that our ancestors faced, and it puts it into context, right? What they went through pales in comparison to what we're going through. So we should think about how important it is for us to stand up for economic opportunity for all of us. And when I say that, I'll say briefly the Fearless Fund. As Rev knows, we're representing the Fearless Fund as a venture capital firm. They invest in black women and women of color, and they were sued for providing resources and funding to black women and women of color. We took on the case in defending them along with Gibson Dunn and a few other lawyers. We have a strong legal team. And we won at the trial court. Hold on. They appealed. They appealed, as we knew they would, and now the case is pending in front of the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. And the question that I want all of you to think about, this is about a charitable organization. A charitable organization that gives money to other people of color to help them. And they're saying that conduct is illegal. So think about every other charitable organization out there that does the same thing. But what they do is not illegal. So if you're a black charitable organization giving money to black people, it's illegal. But if you're of any other demographic group, that's not illegal. So we are in court. We're waiting for a decision from the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, and we'll wait to see what happens.
The other side of this, the plaintiffs that are supported now by Bill Ackman that we've been marching on, but Stephen Miller, all of them, what is their political and social and economic agenda?
You want to get me into trouble. Their political, social agenda is to eradicate race as a factor in every single statute and regulation in this country. Do not sleep on this. This is not about affirmative action. This is about affirmative action, housing, DEI, employment, HBCUs, minority contracting, every single statute and regulation that has race as a factor. They've been very clear. Their goal is to make sure that we're operating in a race-neutral world. The reality is that we don't. But they're looking to strip us of the protections that we've acquired over the past several decades, which is why this work is so incredibly important.
Lastly, Rich Lou, what do you want your legacy to be?
So, this is not going to be a very popular answer, but this is how I think about it. I don't think about legacy. I think that, to me, legacy means death. And then, we go to heaven. Hopefully I go to heaven. And then I get to look down and judge my kids. But I think about, every day what I think about, instead of thinking about legacy, is the work to be done. And staying focused on objectives and goals within periods of time. So one of the things that I'm very fond of is I set my life up in 5-year increments. These 5 years I want to do this, the next 5 years I want to do that, the next 5 years I want to do the other. In July I'll be coming to the end of I'll be 55 in July, so I'll be starting another 5-year journey. But that's how I think about it. I think that if you look at legacy in the way that we typically think about it, the only thing that I can hope to leave behind is one, well, I guess not the only thing, one, children that can carry on what we've started. I was sharing earlier, this will be 4th generation in business together in my family. My grandmother and father were in business together. Me and my mother are in business together. Now my children and their siblings would be in business together. And so for me, I think it's maybe continuing that legacy is to create a foundation that they can carry on. And then, when I'm dead and gone, if somebody were to say, hey, he fought to make sure that black people had a fair shot, I'd be happy.
One of the things, as we close this segment, one of the things, Attorney David, I thought about this morning, I didn't say it because all of the press here, is that National Action Network's 33 years old. 31 years ago, there were 5 young men that were falsely accused of raping a white woman in Central Park. And they were arrested and coerced into confessions that they did not, they admitted to stuff they really did not do. And 13 years later, a guy in his cell started bragging about stuff to his cellmate. And he said, you remember them guys years ago that they put in jail for raping that white woman in Central Park? And his cellmate said, yeah. He said, they didn't do that, I did. And the cellmate, as folk will do in jail, some of y'all here have been to jail, cellmate thought he could take this information and get him some time off. And he went and told the authorities, and the authorities brought his cellmate in, and the DNA matched the white woman's DNA, which meant they knew these 5 boys' DNA didn't match 13 years before. Some of us, Reverend Herbert Daughtry is one of the few, Nan, all of us marched for those boys. And I was involved because one of their mothers came to me and said, my son wouldn't do that. And I will never forget that when we were marching, a businessman in New York took out ads in newspapers saying that those young men ought to get the death penalty. And he kept on them. I went down to the court and stood with those young men, with Reverend Daughtry and Lambe Brath and others. And that was 31 years ago down on Center Street. That same criminal court building Donald Trump will be in on Monday morning. Same courthouse. And one of those 5 young men is at our rallies in Harlem every Saturday morning. Come on up, take a picture with Rich Lou. Carrie Weiss, one of the Central Park 5. Come on, give him a hand. A survivor, exonerated, Central Park 5. All right, give a hand. Rich Lou Dennis, Alfonso David. That's a great picture there. All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Rich Lou. Thank you, Alfonso. Come on, give him a hand on the way out. Y'all get around Rich Lou now. Rush him out. Don't let nobody get to him. All right. Before we go, I want to go into our justice area. We have the Assistant Attorney General of the United States, in charge of civil rights, Christian Clark. We're going to do a fireside chat with her, but let's hear quickly from another one of the cabinet, national cabinet members of President Biden. He was here last year in person. He sent a video because he's with the president. Let us hear from the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg.
Thank you, Reverend Sharpton, and thank you to the entire National Action Network for your leadership and moral clarity. Man's mission has never mattered more, and your nationwide and community-level organizing is vital at a time like this, calling America to its conscience and demanding that rights be recognized and protected for everyone, everywhere. It has been my great honor to join you in person at this convention several times, and I regret that I can't be in the room with you today, but I'm grateful for the invitation to share a few words, especially because there are many things to talk about, but I'll keep it brief. After speaking 2 years ago about transportation disparities and our plans to address them, and speaking last year about our early progress, today I want to share what we've done. I want to talk about the outcomes that we're starting to see in communities In other words, it's time for the receipts. In past years, we have spoken together about the highways that were built straight through black neighborhoods, especially in the 1960s and 70s. Now, we're taking action to heal those divides. Last month, President Biden was in Milwaukee to announce $3.3 billion going to cities and neighborhoods that were divided by past infrastructure choices to help reconnect them for a better future. We're funding terrific community-led projects in Atlanta, Birmingham, Los Angeles, Miami, New Orleans, Syracuse, and about 100